What is the greatest obstacle to experiencing the reality of being? It is the identification with your mind, which turns thought into a compulsive force. The inability to stop thinking is a dreadful affliction. We fail to recognize this because almost everyone suffers from it, and consequently it is considered normal. Relentless mental noise prevents you from finding the stillness that is inseparable from being, as it also creates a false self constructed by the mind, casting a shadow of fear and suffering. We will explore these ideas in more detail later. Philosopher Descartes believed he had uncovered the most fundamental truth with his famous declaration, "I think, therefore I am." In reality, he expressed a basic error, equating thinking with being and identifying with thought. The compulsive thinker, meaning nearly everyone, lives in a state of apparent separateness within an insanely complex world filled with continuous problems and conflicts. This world mirrors the ever-increasing fragmentation of the mind. Enlightenment is a state of wholeness and peace, being one with life in its manifested form, the world, as well as with your deepest self and unmanifested life. To be at one with being. Enlightenment marks not only the end of suffering and continuous conflict, both within and without, but also the end of the dreadful enslavement to incessant thinking. What a remarkable liberation this is. Identification with your mind creates an opaque screen of concepts, labels, images, words, judgments, and definitions, blocking all true relationships. This screen comes between you and yourself, between you and others, between you and nature, and between you and God. It is this veil of thought that creates the illusion of separateness, the illusion that there is a you and a totally separate other. You then forget the essential truth that beneath the level of physical appearances and separate forms, you are one with all that is. By forget, I mean you can no longer feel this oneness as a self-evident reality. You may believe it to be true, but you no longer know it as truth. A belief might offer comfort, but only through your own experience does it become liberating. Thinking has become a disease. Disease occurs when things are out of balance. For instance, there's nothing wrong with cells dividing and multiplying in the body, but when this process continues without regard for the whole organism, it leads to disease. The mind is a superb instrument if used correctly. When used wrongly, however, it becomes highly destructive. To be more precise, it's not so much that you use your mind wrongly. You usually don't use it at all. It uses you. This is the disease. You believe you are your mind. This is the delusion. The instrument has taken you over. I understand your perspective. It's true that you might engage in aimless thinking, just as many people do. Yet, you also possess the ability to harness your mind to achieve your goals, and you do this quite frequently. However, merely solving a crossword puzzle or constructing something complex like an atom bomb doesn't necessarily reflect the true USC of your mind. Just as a dog chews on bones out of instinct, the mind gravitates towards problems as if it were its natural diet. This is why it is drawn to puzzles and grand endeavors. You may have no personal interest in these distractions, but consider this. Can you truly be free of your mind at will? Have you discovered the off switch? When you talk about stopping thoughts entirely, the answer might be elusive. Perhaps you can manage to quiet the mind for a fleeting moment, but that's often a brief respite. Now, in such instances, it's clear that the mind is operating you rather than the other way around. You might not even realize you're being controlled. It's as though a part of you is possessed without your awareness. Consequently, you may mistakenly identify with this possessing force as your true self. True freedom begins with recognizing that you are not the one being possessed. By becoming aware of the thinker, you elevate to a higher state of consciousness. As you observe the thinker, you start to understand that there exists a vast expanse of intelligence beyond mere thought. The thought itself is just a small fragment of this greater intelligence. Moreover, you come to realize that all the things that truly enrich your life, beauty, love, creativity, joy, and inner peace, emerge from a place beyond the mind. This awakening begins the process of liberating yourself from the confines of your thoughts. So, what does it mean to observe the thinker? When someone tells their doctor, "I hear a voice in my head," They are often referred to a psychiatrist. Yet the reality is that almost everyone experiences similar voices or multiple internal dialogues continuously. These involuntary thought processes are often so pervasive that we don't realize we have the power to stop them. They manifest as ongoing monologues or dialogues. You might have seen individuals in public talking or mumbling to themselves. This behavior is not vastly different from the internal chatter experienced by everyone, except that it's not spoken aloud. The voice within comments, speculates, judges, compares, complains, and fluctuates between likes and dislikes. This inner voice often drifts away from the present moment, reliving past events or envisioning potential future scenarios. This is where worry enters the picture. The voice might also be accompanied by visual images or mental movies. Even when the voice pertains to the current situation, it is filtered through the lens of the past. This happens because the voice belongs to a conditioned mind, shaped by past experiences and the collective cultural mindset you've inherited. As a result, you view and judge the present moment through the distorted filter of the past. It's common for this internal voice to act as a relentless tormentor, continuously criticizing and draining your vital energy. This inner torment is the source of immense suffering, unhappiness, and even illness. Yet the path to healing lies in recognizing and stepping beyond this internal conflict. By shifting your focus and learning to observe the voice without judgment, you open the door to profound inner peace and self-awareness. So the wonderful news is that you hold the power to free yourself from the constraints of your mind. This freedom is the true liberation you seek. You can begin this journey right now. Start by becoming attuned to the inner voice in your head, paying special attention to those repetitive thought patterns, the old worn-out records that may have been spinning in your mind for years. This practice of observing the thinker is akin to simply listening to the voice within. Be present as the witness to these thoughts. Listen without judgment or condemnation, for judging only reinforces the very voice you seek to transcend. Allow yourself to notice the distinction between the voice and your presence as the observer. In this process, you will discover a profound realization. There is the voice and there is your observing self. This awareness, this sense of your own presence, emerges from a place beyond thought. As you engage with a thought, you become aware not only of the thought itself, but also of your role as the witness of that thought. This marks the emergence of a new dimension of consciousness. As you continue this practice, you'll feel a deeper, more profound presence behind or beneath the thought. This shift causes the thought to lose its grip on you as you are no longer fueling it with your identification. This marks the beginning of the end of compulsive thinking. When a thought dissipates, you'll experience a momentary gap in the mental flow, a brief pause of no mind. Initially, these gaps may be fleeting, but with time, they will naturally lengthen. During these pauses, you will encounter a serene stillness and inner peace, your natural state of oneness with being, often obscured by the mind. With regular practice, this sense of tranquility and peace will deepen endlessly. You will also experience a subtle, profound joy arising from within, a joy that is intrinsic to your being. This is not a trance or a loss of consciousness, but rather a heightened state of awareness. If peace required a reduction in consciousness, or if stillness meant a loss of vitality, they would be less valuable. However, in this state of connectedness, you will find yourself more alert and awake than when identified with the mind. You are fully present, and this awareness elevates the vibrational frequency of your entire being. As you delve further into this realm of no mind, as it is sometimes called, you will realize a pure state of consciousness. In this state, your sense of presence is so intense and joyful that all thoughts, emotions, your physical body, and the external world become relatively insignificant. Yet this state is not about selfishness, but about transcending what you previously believed to be yourself. This presence is both fundamentally you and yet vastly greater than you. What I'm sharing may seem paradoxical or contradictory, but it is the essence of what needs to be conveyed. Beyond observing the thinker, you can also create a space of stillness in the mind by simply focusing your attention on the present moment. Become deeply aware of now. This practice is profoundly fulfilling and transformative. Imagine a life where you are completely present, where every step you take and every breath you draw is a testament to your deep connection with the present moment. This is not just a dream, it's a possibility available to you right now. By shifting your focus from the endless chatter of the mind to the here and now, you create a profound space of stillness and awareness. Engage in the simple acts of daily life with full presence. When you walk up and down the stairs, immerse yourself in the experience. Notice every step, feel each movement, and be aware of your breathing. When washing your hands, be mindful of the water's touch, the scent of the soap, and the rhythm of your actions. In these moments, pause to observe your breath after closing your car door and become aware of a serene, powerful sense of presence. The true measure of your progress on this journey is the peace you cultivate within. The essential step towards enlightenment is to learn how to disidentify from your mind. So, each time you create a pause in the mental stream, your consciousness grows brighter. You might even find yourself smiling at the thoughts that used to dominate your mind, recognizing them as fleeting rather than defining. Enlightenment isn't about abandoning thought entirely, it's about rising above it. The mind is a magnificent tool meant to serve you. Yet much of our thinking is repetitive and unproductive, draining our energy and causing harm. This compulsive thinking is like an addiction. It takes over, making you feel powerless to stop, and offers a fleeting pleasure that ultimately turns to pain. Why do we fall into this trap? It's because we've identified ourselves with our thoughts. We believe our sense of self depends on the continuous activity of the mind. As we grow, we form an image of who we are based on personal and cultural conditioning. This is the ego. The ego thrives on constant thinking and keeps us anchored in the past or anxiously projecting into the future. To the ego, the present moment is barely noticed. Instead, it clings to past memories and future fantasies, creating a distorted sense of reality. It perpetuates a cycle of dissatisfaction, always projecting a future where happiness or peace will be attained, while failing to recognize the present as a source of true fulfillment. By becoming aware of these patterns and shifting your focus to the now, you begin to unravel the ego's grip and rediscover the genuine joy and peace that exists beyond the mind's incessant activity. You take a moment to observe your mind closely. You'll notice how it often keeps you anchored in the past or anxiously projecting into the future. Yet, the present moment holds the key to true liberation. However, finding this precious moment is impossible as long as you remain entangled in the constant whirl of your thoughts. I understand the concern about losing the ability to think critically and analyze situations. It's natural to value the gift of thought, which indeed distinguishes us and gives us the capacity to evolve. However, we are being called to transcend this stage of reliance on thought. This is not about dismissing the mind, but about moving beyond its limitations. Our mind, once a tool, has grown into a force that can overshadow our true essence if we are not mindful. Thinking and consciousness are not the same thing, While thought is a small aspect of the vastness of consciousness, consciousness itself exists independently of thought. True enlightenment involves rising above mere thought and accessing a deeper state of awareness. This doesn't mean reverting to a less evolved state, but rather integrating a higher level of consciousness with our thinking process. In this enlightened state, your thinking mind is still at work, but it operates with a newfound clarity and purpose. You use it for practical matters, free from the incessant internal chatter that once dominated. There is a serene inner stillness that accompanies this refined use of thought. When seeking creative solutions or insights, you will find yourself oscillating between moments of thought and periods of stillness. This interplay of thought and no thought, where no mind signifies a state of pure consciousness without the clutter of thought, allows for genuine creativity. It's from this place of inner quiet that thought gains its real power and becomes truly transformative. Thought, disconnected from the expansive realm of consciousness, quickly loses its vitality and can even become destructive. The mind, in its survival mode, excels at analyzing and processing information but lacks the creative spark. True creativity emerges from a place of stillness, a space of no mind, where your essence connects with the infinite possibilities of being. All true creators, whether consciously or unconsciously, tap into this profound space of inner quiet to manifest their highest potential.